Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Canadians Abroad. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming. I will be joined by my colleague, Alex Gongay-Ruzic, and today there's plenty to discuss. We have Jonathan David getting linked to Tottenham once again, Mallorca closing in on Cyle Larin, and Marc-Anthony Kaye leaving TFC for a fresh start. So hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, let's get into the episode now. All right, Alex, we are kicking off today's episode with Jonathan David because a tweet came out by journalist Rudy Galletti that said Tottenham are preparing for the possible farewell of Harry Kane and that they are taking a look at Jonathan David with his contract expiring in 2025. Alex, we've talked about Jonathan David for a long time now. There's been links to Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, but Tottenham seems to be the team that keeps coming back. And I also have said for a while, it's going to be a domino effect. We're going to see that big first striker move, whether it's Victor Osimhen or Harry Kane, and then all those pieces are just going to fall into place. What is your thought on this David to Tottenham link, and do you think it's his most likely destination?
I'm continuing to warm up a lot to the move, I'd say. I think it's something where there are a lot of factors to like about Jonathan David's potential move to a Tottenham. I mean, first and foremost, new head coach, Ange Postecoglou, a very, attack-minded, fluid, coach. I think someone that's going to, be key for someone like Jonathan David to play in a fluid front line with the likes of a Heung-min Son, of course, if Harry Kane departs. You got James Maddison as well. So, going to be some good players to link up with. Plus, what I've always said for England is that, the ambition has been clear for Jonathan David. I want to play in the Premier League. We've heard him say it. Well, a big issue is that there were a lack of, kind of spots at the big six for him when he said that. And, it meant like we've said in the past, if he's willing to make a jump to a team like an Aston Villa or a Brighton, who are maybe in European soccer, West Ham as well, who are, playing in Europe, but, maybe not part of the big six. Sure, he can make that jump. You could also argue that he's in a similar situation at Lille. Whereas when you're making a jump to a club like Tottenham, pushing for Champions League, obviously not going to be there this year, but they'll be pushing. It's something where that's the sort of move you want to see him make. You want to see him take that sort of step up. So it's something where I'm absolutely warming to that move based on the tactics, based on the fit, and certainly would be a big shoes to fill with Harry Kane. But I think it would be a welcome challenge for someone like Jonathan David.
I've been wearing you down. If you follow me on Twitter, you would know that I've been talking about David at Tottenham for a while. I get a lot of comments saying, Josh, why do you want him to not win trophies? And I don't think that's the fairest look at this potential move. Like you mentioned, Alex, he wants to go to England. He's made it clear. I think you and I both agreed maybe going to Italy or another league could be better for him. But if his heart is set on England, Tottenham does make sense. And I'm going to go over it a little bit here. The fact is that there is majority of those top six teams straight up just don't have an opening for him. You could argue Manchester United, but they probably are going to go for just a striker a little bit higher rated than a Jonathan David. And with no disrespect to David, I'm looking at like your Victor Osimhen. That's the kind of name that I'm thinking and the type of money that they're willing to cash out. Tottenham doesn't seem like a completely safe bet because this team has got a lot of issues as well. But it kind of seems like a changing of the guard. You've seen your Mourinho, your Contes leave this negative football behind. Maybe the changing the guard that your guy, Harry Kane, finally gets to move on. You get to kind of start from scratch, which I think will take a lot of the pressure off of Jonathan David coming to this league. On top of that, like you mentioned, Ange is a fantastic manager. I've been following him for a very long time. Attack-minded. His biggest challenge will be taking that Tottenham side and changing them from that defense-minded attitude into that free-flowing attacking football you love so much. And I think David could slot into that role. He's been playing it under Fonseca this season at Lille. He's got the ability to drop deep and create the same way that Harry Kane kind of can, and he can finish. And I think he's got the pieces around him to hopefully make this move successful. And I know that a West Ham could be an intriguing project as well, but for me, I think that Tottenham have the money and have the ambition to at least try to get a player like David in and push for top six. There was a major trade in Major League Soccer as Marc-Anthony Kaye leaves Toronto FC and heads to New England. Alex, what do you make about the trade, and do you like the fit?
Yeah, it's Bob Bradley may no longer be at TFC, but a pair of his former midfielders with the LAFC 2019 Supporters Shield winners were swapped as Marc-Anthony Kaye headed to New England. Latif Blessing and an international spot headed north to Canada to join Toronto FC. Fascinating move for Marc-Anthony Kaye, who gets to join Bruce Arena, another veteran MLS coach. New England Revolution, a decent team. I mean, Carlos Hill in great form once again this season. Georgi Petrovic at the in goal has been one of the best goalkeepers in the league, but they've needed to shore up their midfield depth. They acquired Latif Blessing this offseason, and he hasn't maybe been the fit they've wanted. So they're banking on Marc-Anthony Kaye regaining maybe a bit of form, a bit of confidence after what was supposed to be a dream move, the return of the Mac, the kid coming home back to where it all started, and it just didn't end up going the right way for him, the club, everything around him. So chance for a fresh start for Mac under a great coach on a solid team. This could be a good opportunity for Marc-Anthony Kaye.
So Marc-Anthony Kaye was one of the best midfielders, in my opinion, when he was with LAFC. He still was in very good form when he was with the Rapids, but it was this move to TFC that really kind of hurt his career. And a big issue is that he lost his opportunity to go to the national team. Now, he's been left out of the main squads, especially for like the Nations League. But Marc-Anthony Kaye was also left out of the Gold Cup squad, which, as we know, was a bit of a B squad. And on top of that, when Eustáquio dropped out, it wasn't Marc-Anthony Kaye that was brought in, who I think could have probably played a role at this Gold Cup. It was Liam Fraser who came over. He's playing the second division in Belgium. He's not in great form. So this move can't hurt. Can it, Alex? Like, this has to be a fit. If he wants any opportunity to get back to the national team, he has to hit the ground running in Boston, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and I think it's something where this for Marc-Anthony Kaye, I think it's one of those change of scenario, fresh start, just one of those where I think with TFC, it was so much beyond just the performance that was kind of eating at him, right? Because I think it's something where, yeah, you could pinpoint his struggles a bit in midfield. Everyone's struggling on that team, and there's some players making a lot more money with a lot higher profile. Or you could look at being, okay, are they pulling their weight as much? It's one of those where everyone's struggling. So for Marc-Anthony Kaye, I think for me it's going to be as much the confidence, the joy, because when he was playing at LAFC, when he was playing at Colorado, when he was at his best, there was joy in his game. He was just gliding. He was scoring these great goals, and you could see just what it meant to him. He was on the ball in midfield, just almost dancing with it, playing these sorts of passes. And we haven't seen that swagger at Toronto that made Marc-Anthony Kaye so key in 2019 when he burst onto the national team scene and became indispensable to John Herdman. And you see where he is now, where Herdman isn't even giving him a call for the B midfielder. The backups to the backups are getting called up over Kaye. So I think for him, it's just getting that swagger back. So I think we've seen it glimpses with Toronto this year. That's been maybe the frustrating thing to see, is that he'll have these games where he's completing 90% of his passes. He's getting stuck in midfield, completing a dribble or two, and you see the glimpses of that old Mac. But then also just, moments where he was struggling a bit with the speed and maybe not getting on the ball as much as he should, or turning it over and heavy touches. So really for New England, if he can get that swagger back and maybe playing with guys like Carlos Heel and the confidence that this whole New England system plays with, you see what a guy like Bobby Wood, for example, has just completely grown and found his feet with Bruce Arena. If Marc-Anthony Kaye can do the same, I think it could be huge just to add to Canada's midfield depth, because overall in the pool, yes, a few number 8s have emerged recently, but they need all the options they can get in the middle.
Speaking of those number 8s pushing for a spot in the Canadian national team, we are moving along to Ali Ahmed, who had a breakout tournament at the Gold Cup. He's returned to the Whitecaps and put in a recent electric performance, didn't he, Alex?
Yeah, Ali Ahmed, it's turning into the summer of Ali Ahmed. Such a great performance at the Gold Cup, and he returned to the Whitecaps, missed the first game as he had a bit of a knock. His knock kept him on the bench to start the match against LA Galaxy. He came on for about 30, and my goodness, was he electric. I think the fans kind of picked up on his Canadian experience. He came on to a loud ovation. They're starting to realize that they got something here in Ali Ahmed, and then he was fantastic. He showed no ill effects of fatigue or that little knock he was carrying. He was running at a tired Galaxy defense. He had this one mazy run where he went from deep in the Whitecaps midfield into the final third and creating a transition moment that nearly led to a goal. And every time he got on the ball, the Whitecaps fans were getting up. They were cheering. He was just bringing them out the seats. So I think for Ali Ahmed, we're really starting to see just the potential all come together. This Canadian camp, his Canadian experience seemed to be a huge confidence booster for him. And as we saw with Canada, where he was so fearless right off game one, he has this confidence already. So the fact that he's seeming to get this boost, it's going to be exciting to see what's next for him with the Whitecaps, where I have to imagine he's now certainly a locked-in starter when healthy on this Whitecaps team. And hey, maybe what that could mean for his national team aspirations.
Now, was this last Gold Cup a showing as to why we need players like this to emerge? I think that the depth just wasn't really there in the midfield. I know it was more for the 6th than maybe it was for the 8th, But this is an opportunity to help get a player involved with the national team, to help grow the depth pool. And in my opinion, Alex, I don't think it's crazy for the performance I saw. Could you imagine him pushing not only into the team, the A team, but into the starting 11? Eustachio, Kone, Ahmed. I think that's a really good trio to build forward for probably up to a decade, no?
Well, I mean, that's been the thing I've said. I've said Canada right now, they're looking for a third midfielder. And I've always said, ideally, you want a six because you know what Kone and Eustachio can do as eights. But Eustachio's no slouch as a number six himself. And if Ali Ahmed keeps playing the way he has, he's going to be hard to ignore him for that Canadian starting spot. And hey, I don't hate the idea of Eustachio playing underneath Kone and Ahmed. Just imagine Kone and Ahmed, the relentless running, the drive, the dribbling that you get out of them in midfield. So for Ahmed, absolutely, he's continuing to push. And I think it's something where if he keeps on this trajectory, with friendlies coming up in the fall, he's absolutely something where you'd want to look like, okay, can he play with the Kone and Eustachio? What would he look like? And for him, really, the trajectory, I have to remember that literally a summer ago, he was still playing in MLS Next Pro as a wingback. And the fact that he's moved over to his more natural position in midfield, he's playing in what he's comfortable. We've seen this. You can just see the potential right away, just the fearlessness, the drive. And it's something where on this trajectory, yeah, you're looking at someone who could potentially start for the national team. You could see someone who can push into Europe, because anytime we've seen players on his trajectory where he was heading into the season with 3 MLS appearances under his belt to be where he's at now, he's absolutely on a trajectory where he's heading that way based on what we've seen of past players who've followed his path, like a Tajon Buchanan, like Ismail Kone, who've had similar 1-year rises where the start of the year they're kind of on the fringes of their team, and by the end of the year you're like, okay, this is a player.
Now that's the thing I also like about Ali Ahmed is he had, in my opinion, the best performance at that tournament. He basically starred in the midfield, but then you moved him back into left back, left wing back. The man can play in a lot of different positions, which just shows how versatile of a player he is. And if there's one thing we know about John Herdman, versatility is such an important factor. So whether he comes in and maybe he features as a left mid, left wing back, even a left back, right back, I don't know. He could probably play just about anywhere, but I'm striker, I guess, but I really want to see him play in the midfield. And I think that more than likely, if he gets a move to Europe, that is a position he'll be featuring for his club and hopefully for his country. Moving along now to the Canadian quick hit section of the episode. Cyle Larin could soon be on the move, as Fabrizio Romano tweeted out that Mallorca have submitted their second bid to Valladolid for Cyle Larin and are pushing heavily to sign the Canadian striker. It's rumored that the second bid is just above 6 million euros plus add-ons. Valladolid bought Larin for just 1.5 million euros and could make some good money flipping him. It's great to see Cyle Larin hopefully heading back to La Liga. He did such a good job there in his short spell last season.
Former CF Montreal goalkeeper Sebastian Breza is on the move after spending most of last season in Serie C. He's gone on loan from Bologna to the Swiss top flight with Yverdon Sport, who are freshly promoted into the top flight. He's heading out on a 1-year loan. And it's going to be an interesting time for him to play in a top flight European league. His contract with Bologna expires next summer, so this is going to be a chance to maybe prove that he can stick around at Yverdon or another top flight league in Europe.
If you've been keeping an eye on Kamal Miller lately, you might have noticed he's got a couple new teammates. Sergio Busquets is the first one of the best defensive midfielders of all time. And the other one, you might have recognized him, you might have heard him. It is Leo Messi. In my opinion, the greatest player to ever play this game. And Kamal Miller will definitely have fun playing with the two of them.
Of course, the domestic seasons rage on over here in North America, and it was a good weekend for a couple Canadians. A couple of them returning after the Gold Cup, and they picked up a few assists across the board. Jason Russell-Rowe, fresh off a decent little Gold Cup with Canada, had a great assist to Lucas Zelarayan against Zach McGraw in Portland, funnily enough, over the weekend for the Columbus Crew. Joel Waterman had a nice assist as well for CF Montreal in a big 2-0 win over Charlotte. And then Ryan Raposo himself had an assist in a 4-2 Whitecaps win over the LA Galaxy. So good weekend for Canadians in MLS picking up helpers.
Scott Kennedy is heading back to Austria, this time to the Austrian Bundesliga, where he has signed a 2-year deal with an option for a 3rd year at Wolfsberger AC. This is a fantastic opportunity for Kennedy, and it will be his first chance to play in a European top flight.
We got a big signing in the Canadian Premier League this week as Daniil Henry, the Canadian men's national team defender, is heading to the Halifax Wanderers. The 44 capped Canadian international, was looking at for a new club after a bit of a rough stint over the last 2 years in MLS, bouncing around with injuries and on waivers. This is a great chance for him to find some form in the Canadian League, playing on a team that plays with grass, plays fun football. I'm excited to see how he gets on, and it's great to see that the league's picking up internationals like this.
That is all the time we have for in this edition of Canadians Abroad. I really hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to tune in for next week's update.